Hi, everyone, and welcome to the One Podcast. I'm excited about our guest today. I love this woman. I've known you for about 2 years now, maybe a little more. We met through a special group that we're in together with one of our favorite mentors. This is Christie Sondergaard, and she is going to talk a little bit today about her mission, how she discovered who she is, how she walks her path of her purpose. She has a brand called Aligned to Lead. So I want you to just talk a little bit about your background and then how you settled into the woman you are now and the path that you're on. And then I want you to tell us about Aligned to Lead. I love that.
Oh, Lisa, you are made for this. This is amazing. You're awesome. Oh, this is awesome. I'll tell you about my background.
Yeah.
My professional background has changed over the years. I have transitioned. I'm the woman that transitions and evolves and grows. I went down a traditional path, like going down school, getting educated. I was a physiotherapist for a period of time. I fell in love traveling the world. I had the adventure in my spirit and moved to Denmark within a year and a half of that, which was crazy. So I finished my education, went to Denmark, practiced there. So I'm from Canada. So it was very free flowing, very adventurous spirit. Anything can happen. And I started working there in the hospital, and then I changed and I went into private practice. And I did that for about 6 years until I had my daughter. And I knew from the beginning we had planned it that we wouldn't be there forever. It
Mhm.
was just over the time that he was going to school. And then we moved back to Canada. And then I raised my kids. And it was at that time my mom stayed home all the way through. I had that as a memory. And I had this idea that my dad was always working from home. He was always in sales,
Mhm.
helped families plan and save for their children's education. He worked with families to do that. And he was a teacher before that too. So I saw him transition. And so when I came back, and I didn't really want to go back into the position that I was in, I wanted the flexibility. It was never a question of whether I had a work ethic or whether or not I could do it. I didn't need somebody ever to push me or to tell me to get up to go to work. I was going to do that naturally. It was just that's what I decided to do. And I went down the financial services path alongside my father. He was my first mentor.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I think it was about 2 years in, and I saw how he had done it, and he became a one-man show. And I think that as he got a little older, there was elements that he'd outgrown what he had done.
Mhm.
And I saw him be a little bit not lonely, but he was just one man doing this career for the rest of his life.
Mhm.
And I thought I wanted to give back. I knew that right away. I wanted to share the skills that I was learning. I started to develop a team, and that's actually what led me into personal development because I tried to establish a team. It fell, flopped. I did it again, fell, flopped. And I was like, what is wrong? How do I see people do this?
Mhm.
Yeah, you never think that it's you. So, like
Always
that's
is. And yet it always is, right? That's the worst. Uh-huh.
That's exactly the way it was. And so I was like, okay, who's going to teach me about like leadership? But what I didn't realize that leadership was really about yourself and your own self leadership and becoming the person on the inside out. And eventually we fell into the same group with our mentor as well. And that was an evolution of me
Mhm.
because I'd grown that business right across Canada. And at that time, I wanted to invest more into the mindset of an embodied entrepreneur. And I was already wearing so many hats within the business that I couldn't just step out of the business to just mentor the team that we had. And we had like 85 people. So
Yep.
it was big. And so I hired a mindset coach that came in, worked with me because I mean, I was leading the team as well and the business, and then worked with them. And what I realized, there was elements of it that we tapped into more of the feminine, that feminine flow, that creative, imaginative mind. And all of a sudden, I realized I had more within me. There was the creativity, the ambition, the desire that I started to recognize and accept that was calling me forward to something else. And here I was with this very well established business. I
Yeah.
invested like a $500,000 into that. And within 1 year, the business changed because I had built the business inside another business. So it
Hmm.
was like not network marketing, but I got to be a franchise of it. And then I was responsible for the distribution, the hiring, and that kind of stuff of people and the development of people within it. And so when that changed overnight, I was like, what am I gonna do? And
Oh, uh-oh. Yeah. Now what? Hmm.
what's really interesting is wealthy people are resourceful people.
Yeah.
They can lose it all and they can build it all again from the ground up.
Hmm.
Right. And that's what I did. And I just took time because I received a compensation for the team.
Hmm.
They offered me work, but I was like, is that what I want? No, thanks. And I went in another direction. I actually decided that I wanted to work with other entrepreneurs, not just within financial services, others outside of it. And I also wanted to do it differently than other advisors who are always have like the retirement like in mind.
Hmm.
And I just think that's a full crock of myth and like
Definitely not suited for you. Hmm. Yep.
no, I mean, it's a part of the
Yeah.
journey of being
Yeah.
prepared. It's a support, but is it the end all be all?
Right.
No. It's who are you? And I don't really want you think about this yourself. I don't see myself ever really retiring. I see myself producing and creating and having digital assets and mentoring extraordinary people and
Mm.
really helping them to understand wealth from the inside out. And that's just really where I've been deep alignment and like showing people having conversations, gaps in the conversations that are already existing, using my skills, resources, gifts, that kind of stuff to see like where we're going to go. So that's where I've been.
There was a couple things I want to touch on. Ooh, I had to write this down. This is so good because I want to come back to it. It took a lot of bravery to really start saying, you know what, I want to do this differently. I think this is where some of the greatest creations that have ever existed start from, which is the I like this part and I like this part and I'm good at these things, but I'd like to add in or I'd like to do it differently. Or is it possible if? I were to take these. And I think that's the beauty of innovation. Some things are brand new, come from nothing. We create the whole entire concept. I mean, the thought in our mind, then the concept, then the actual production, and it exists. Or that you actually think of something and then start taking those steps forward. And I loved that you had the bravery to do that. And then I really liked a couple things that you had said. Wealthy people are willing to just take risks. They know. And there's a level of trust in money and an energetic trust that I'm capable of making it and I'll make it again. And I know for people that hear this or see this that haven't reached that level of wealth or that comfort, it doesn't feel good to hear that and it doesn't settle well. But you can always talk to her about wealth, and wealth as you learn more about it, there's an energetics around wealth. And then I loved that you said wealth from the inside out. Talk more about that because I think that's a concept people haven't thought of before. Mm.
No, and then I'll add to that. I create hustle-free business. That's what Align to Lead is like. We start with our own happiness, our own level of contentment, fulfillment, because that's where it all stems from, right? It's really loving what you have. So I think a lot of people, what they do is when they establish a business, they think, okay, I've got to do all the things, I've got to check all the lists and make sure that I get myself set up. I got to do this, then this. It's A, B, C, D, E model. And then once I have, then I will be happy. So it's like, I'm going to do the things to have the things that's going to bring me happiness, where I don't really believe in that at all. Because there's a number of different things. First of all, number one, we don't really know what life is going to bring us. There's an element of unknown. You cannot plan it. I didn't have any intention the day that I said to my parents I was going to go to Australia and I was going to meet somebody and I fall in love, have kids. And I didn't know any of those things. I'm divorced today, but I didn't plan any of that,
Mhm.
right? Could I have circumvented some of the things with the new knowledge and skills that I have today? Sure. But there is that element that we need to understand that we can't plan it.
Mhm.
We don't know how long it's going to happen, and we don't know. What we know that is finite is that
Yeah.
life has an ending to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be when I don't have my health and I don't have memories and I don't have any more time in my life. And I look back and say, what the heck did I do with it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many of us that are listening or watching this at some point, we all have fallen into that trap of, if I do this, then I'll be happy, or I'll be happy when. And I love that you actually have that be the foundation of their creations and of their business. First, we figure and recognize and celebrate and appreciate the happiness and the contentment. And then we
Yes.
build from there, which,
Yes.
if you don't know energetics work, that's what you have to do. You have to be grateful for what you already have and then build from there. When I started my veterinary business years ago, I was so excited. I had worked for a company, and so I was going to model my own company after that and be a distributor. But even having that experience and having a kind of a model that I could use with all the things I wanted to do right and different, the truth of the matter is I never had the full vision of what I thought I hoped it would be. But you're exactly right. No matter how clear you are on the vision of what you want to create, we really don't know if we're going to get there. And we think the happiness will be there when we arrive. But what are you doing? What are you putting on the line if it doesn't arrive and we're missing all of the joy in the creation of it?
Yes.
Ooh, so when
Yes.
you start with the foundation of the happiness, the contentment, the look at what you've already created, and you have such a clarity on the finite experience, which we really truly don't know when we're all going to go. I
No.
could walk out tomorrow and get hit by a bus, and I think I got
Yeah.
70 years ahead. So we really don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
No.
loving this. I love that. So
Yeah.
you help people with that really solid. Talk a little bit about your work. What do you do with your clients?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, it's based on my own experience,
Mm.
like a lot of it. I mean, yes, there's things that I pull in that are very specialized skill sets, right, to support the clients. I was a financial advisor for many years, so I understand money. I understand assets, depreciating assets versus appreciating assets. I get that whole realm of the path to financial independence. However, there is, if I'm going to be wealthy, I want to love what I have. And I was like everybody else in learning this. Like they said, this is the linear path to success. You have to sacrifice. You need to give it your all. Even if you're tapped out in energy, you not only have to give it to your family, your work, to your clients, to your employees, your vision, like all these things. But I couldn't hold it all. And I didn't know how to do that because I didn't know how to take my foot off the gas and lean back and appreciate what I had. I
Mm.
was just all in gusto, like balls to the wall kind of like attitude.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought I'm a successful woman. This is what I need to do. And I didn't know how to balance or even how to thrive, is what I would say.
Mm.
And I think it was the thriving, and to be able to thrive, I really needed to anchor my power of who I am, my identity, and that everything from that place gets to be an expression and an expansion of what I was and what I was creating. And through that, I create like more of a vortex of what I'm attracting into my life.
Mm.
So that needed to shift. And how I led myself to that is I ended up divorced and I had a big business and everything crumbled. And I think that happens. You get disconnected
Mm.
from your truth when you're chasing and you're hustling and you're in the do mode. And then you become exhausted and then things start to fall apart, like your relationships. We were having hallway sex. Hey, how's it going? You're on. That's,
Sex.
yeah, hallway
Cute.
sex. That was
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah.
And so the relationship fell apart, and then you got to heal from that. And then it was through the healing that I got really wise and I put myself into mentorships, especially after the business that I invested into within a year, like flipped. So there was the divorce. than that, I felt like I hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what do I do? What can I rely on? Because I don't have any more of my external circumstances around me, like
Mhm.
literally blew up.
Yeah.
And so, who am I? I'm the person that rises. I'm the person that can. I'm the person that decides. I'm the person that gets to invest because I know I can. And I believed in myself because I had evidence that was who I was. So I leaned into that.
And I
And that's
think
what I teach people.
ooh, that is a note too. In my impression, there will be some people who will hear this and think, okay, I've been at rock bottom and I wasn't sure I had the confidence to build from there. And I also think there's truth that you don't have to hit rock bottom. Some people just get that nudge. I am no longer satisfied here. I don't want to be here and I'm meant for more. And they can turn it and shift. But for others, many of us, in my opinion, we we stay for different reasons, even when we're unhappy and even when it's not flourishing, or we don't know a different option. And then it does, it starts to crumble and come down. And then there's a bottom point. And then that's when we turn around. But I love that there was something in you that just had an inner knowing, okay, I can. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to create, but I can and I will and I'll trust myself. And I think that's where people might get stuck. I liked that you said I had the evidence that I could, but you knew you weren't going back into the same industry. So, what was your evidence? An emotional type of evidence? Talk about what made you solid in I will be okay and let's go this path.
Well, faith.
Mm-hmm.
I had a relationship with God, I would say,
Perfect.
like my whole life.
Yeah.
I trusted, like I don't know. I'm a two line in my human design. Like I just have an inner knowing, an
Mm,
inner compass. Like it's a gift I have. It's one of the gifts I bring with my clients too. I see things, but I didn't always see my own gifts. And I think that was part of being a part of other women
mm,
inside of high level mentorship, where others actually saw you for who you really were and held a vision. And that was like the reason why I continued to do it. I didn't do it alone. So
yep.
I did it because I prayed
Yep.
and I was on the floor. I don't think I had power. Like, yeah, I didn't really know of my real choice. Like, I don't think that I had a solid grasp on that or a trust in that piece of myself.
Mm,
That was something that I brought back into my life. But I knew just with this inner like intuition, inner guidance. First of all, what are you going to do? Unfortunately, I had to hit the rock bottom in order to make that decision. Like you said, you could use your power, you could establish your power, you could become aware of it, you could step into it and make other choices all the way along. You don't need to hit rock bottom. I did,
yep.
but that was because I didn't have power. And I think that when I hit the bottom, I can die. That's how I felt.
Please
Like,
no. Yeah.
yeah, really. What are you gonna do? So I survived. I was what I think I did, and I made choices. So what I leaned into was where I had confidence, which was already in building business and knowing that, yeah. So I didn't know, I knew that I didn't want to do what I'd done before, or at least I didn't want to do it the same way.
Ooh,
And at that point, I just relied on what felt good. It's like I use that as my compass. It's like, this feels good. This feels good in my body.
is brilliance, brilliance. And I wrote down, I leaned into where I had confidence. And I think that will be key for some listeners is, or viewers. Okay, if you're in that place where it is headed towards rock bottom or you are in rock bottom, there's turmoil, there's loss, there's confusion, there's stress, there's everything. And so it is hard to say, okay, I don't even know what the next step is. Clearly don't have the vision or the trust that I can get there. So I think I leaned into where I had confidence. And while you were talking, years ago, I had this great conversation with my father, and it has stayed with me for 20, 30 years almost. And I share it with tons of my clients where he had gone through a very large financial loss and I didn't find out for a long time. And when I asked him about it, I'd said, like, how did you recover from that? And he said, I looked back and I said, okay, I did it before. So I'd built the business in order to have that wealth. And so I knew I could do it again, but this time faster. Because the first time around, you're learning, right? So you're creating as you learn. And then this time, so I had evidence in the past. He was confident I could rebuild again, but this time it would be even faster because I'm not learning it all. I loved there was the confidence in I'm not exactly sure how long it will take. And then you mix that if you are in a place where you're just not sure what's next, looking back at, okay, what do I have confidence in? Where have my skill sets been? Am I a hard worker? Do I trust my own word? Do I believe that there's opportunities? What can I see that's good about everything who I am? What are my character traits? Sorry, I was looking for the right word. And
Hmm.
especially in the challenges that I've had in the past, what did those character traits develop? What did I develop because of those? So you have that little pool of confidence, and then you do exactly what you were talking about. Then you start trusting in your higher powers for those of us who believe in God or source or whatever. And then you start looking for your people. You put
Yes,
yourself with the people that see more of you than you see in yourself, that believe in you when you're struggling or stumbling through, can I really do this? And if you can get yourself around these incredible mentors and coaches that, and if you can't afford a mentor or coach, there's so many resources out there by these incredible people and groups for you to just mirror that back to you that you can do it on the days where we think that we can't, you can do it.
yeah,
And then you get around the right mentors and they hold the vision that you may not even see. And when you're sharing your vision, they actually share the bigger vision that your mind hasn't even come to yet because they can recognize
exactly.
the gifts. I love, and that's what you do in your work is holding
That's what
that
I do.
vision.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then there's like, because everybody's at a different place
Yep.
in it. I felt like I became more whole, is what I would
Mm.
say, by being connected to the group. But it was really my intuition that brought me in. I didn't know actually what I was going to get out of it. I didn't make a logical decision. It was really a carnal inside a fire in me that I couldn't explain it. It was really deep. And it was, this is where you're supposed to go. There was an intuition. I never had an idea that I would build a business. I just saw evidence of the people that I was going to join up with that had what I could potentially have, that I could potentially learn how to do it. So I already had a growth mindset from before. So that was also, right? I knew that I could trust myself to be resourceful and to have a growth mindset, that it would just be inevitable that through this resonance that we were creating, that I too would, if I was staying plugged in. And so that was all of what I did. So now what do I do with people is I create opportunities for people to come closer, or basically invitations to come closer. I'm out there in my social media, in my resonance that I'm like putting out there. If you feel it, you're gonna feel it. And
Mm.
then I open doorways for you to come and walk in closer and to get a peek through the window or to actually be immersed into a program. But if the longer that you stay, the better the outcomes. And it's not just going to be in one area, it's going to be in multiple areas of your life. And so that's what I do.
You're so right. Everything in my work is about really learning how to listen to your specific intuition. And it's always talking to you and it's always leading. And sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't, but it sees that vision of what's ahead and it will align you with the right people. And some are just for a moment. And some is just I'm going to run into this person. I'm going to hear this idea. It's going to spawn something in my head. And that idea is going to formulate and I'm going to create. And then there are connections you are meant to connect with. And they will walk with you and lead you and expand you beyond what you thought was capable. But some of the best intuitive nudges have made absolutely no sense. But
Hmm.
those are the funnest because it's clearly not something I created myself. It came to me. It was so brilliant. The universal surprises of bigger things than you can ever imagine, but trusting the intuition, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what your circumstances are, knowing and getting connected with you, and then following step by step. Okay, I'm getting an intuitive nudge here. I'm going to follow this one, and there's a reason I'm here. And then I'm going to continually put myself in the exposure, in there's a word I'm looking for, in the networking and the support of being with those who see a vision for me while I discover my own vision, or while I have the bravery to create the vision I'm seeing. And if I
Yeah.
trust to change it, because I've watched your expansion even further and more embodiment of different parts of you, the sexy side
Yeah.
of you coming out and the playful side of you. And there's the business and the wisdom, and then there's even more exposing itself over time. Oh, I've got this side I want to play with too, and I can
Yeah.
help women over here. It isn't that we just arrive. We,
Yeah.
I feel we build the confidence in one area, and then, oh, there's this other part of me I didn't even know about, or there's this other part of me that maybe wants a little bit more exposure. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
when I was in mentorship, and I'm still in mentorship, it was really about my own journey of coming to this place of feeling and being fulfilled and whole. And from then did the idea to expand and to be even more visible and to get into the edges and all that kind of stuff that now is becoming my business.
Mm,
But I didn't intend. I want to make sure that's really clear. It wasn't about me going into mentorship, getting others' ideas so that I could create the business. I was in there immersed in receiving. I was fully receiving, and I didn't know where it was going to go. I just knew that all the changes, how it was impacting me and my own breakthroughs and my own insights that I got through it, that allowed me to go further. And it just opened these doors. That would be the best way. Things that I think that were closed, that all of a sudden were open. And I would play. That's when I would to be, ooh, I'm gonna bring my bravery. Ooh, let's do this. Let's create something that would be fun. And not even with the idea necessarily that I was judging whether the business was successful or not. Was it planned? Was it not? Like it was like
yeah.
following something. It was just about me getting out there and creating. Now I'm getting a lot more specific. Now I know what my brand is. Align to Lead just came up. Like I had the URL, Lisa, it was so funny. I had that URL back in 2022 when I did my first like offer. I put it out there, had four people hop in for a 5K offer. It was like 20K for the first time. I never did it again. I just did it. I loved it, but there was more. I took the time to just allow myself. I had some resources that allowed me to buy me some time. I didn't feel like I was in the hustle mode or anything like that. And then it was, wow, now what am I going to do? Because it doesn't really become, I'm not going to just be in mentorship, not to do anything with it.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm going to create from it. So,
Oh,
anyway,
I was
that's what
laughing
happened.
because it's so funny that my brand is the one woman, and it was the first time I'd
Yeah.
ever channeled anything in my life, and I didn't even know what channeling was. But I
Yeah.
specifically remember your brand is going to be the one woman. I had no concept of creating an online business. And so I immediately went and got that domain in 2021. And here we are, 2025. The exact same thing. I knew that there was an importance of that. And then wanted, I held it. I held it with me, but there were parts of me that needed to grow and expand. And then over time, now the one woman is becoming the one movement. And over 2 years ago, I knew there would be the one podcast. Everything became the one. There's a one foundation. And yet it was in the development of who I was and the more alignment into the confidence of this is your mission and the settling into the woman that I am, that
Mm,
those those insights and those intuitions, it felt ahead of my time, but there was an ownership. And I love that. So you acted on it. And I'm saying this because I feel there are people that are feeling this. There's been an idea that was planted. It felt too big. It didn't feel aligned on the timing. You weren't sure what to do with it, but it still has lingered. It might be that you needed to become the woman or the man that was built to create that growing into it. Or there might have just been some more nuggets, some ideas, a way that the business was meant to be designed that wasn't ready for that human at that point in time. I love that you had this in 2022. And here it is, like, really, the minute I read that, aligned to lead, it is so perfect. And if you listen back to your story, it was all of this. I didn't know I was going to do this, and I aligned to it. And then I looked into this and I aligned. And the way you do lead your clients all comes from your own alignment first. So, had you jumped into that in 2022,
Yeah.
you weren't aligned as this woman. So, the timing is just so beautiful. It's
Thank you.
flawless. We share these stories because I want you to take the stories and apply them to your life. I want you to hear the words and hear the conversations so that there is a reflection as you're driving or as you're thinking or as you're listening into, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. I remember that. Or that's happened to me once, or I could see what that feels like. I remember this. And that's what's so important about these stories is we are all the same. We live it differently at different paces. We learn at different paces. We come into our own at different paces, but there's always someone out there to say, "Hey, I've done it and you can do it in your own way, and I'm here to lead you. I've aligned." And I love the beauty that we both already know that there's more ahead for us that we don't even know yet. We have no
Exactly.
idea. There's incredible things ahead.
And you know what? I don't even know if I saw myself as leading others, as I'm just going to show you. This is what I've done. I'm embodied in what I'm doing. This is because, and that was one of the biggest things of becoming the woman is that I needed to take concepts that were in my head that I maybe heard, that I had learned. And then I needed to actually allow them, like I needed to release them and go live my life and go live free, which is actually where my year-long mentorship container has come from, called like the womanship, which is all in the frequency of living free. And living free is like aligned life from the inside out in creating a freedom business. It's like all of the bits and your impact and your influence and all that kind of stuff. But it really stems from this place of living. So when you're out there and you're living your life, that's when you get to actually move the concepts from your head to your real life scenarios. Then you meet the resistance again, and then you're going to break through again. And you're going to repeat this in multiple areas of your life. And then you're going to go and create the story, package it as an asset for it to share it as
Mhm.
wisdom for others. And now you got a business. This is
Yeah.
how it works. And that's what I'm leading in women in and helping them connect to themselves so they're leading themselves through a framework that I've established as my business.
I love that. And I thought that was such a perfect nugget, too, as well, that you're going to be creating and then you're going to meet resistance again. And I think when you're first creating or when you're trying something new, it's so easy to come up against that resistance and we think, "Oh, I'm doing it wrong," or "This was the wrong step," or "Maybe I'm not capable." But I loved it because it felt like, oh, I almost just said ugly, but that like really unattractive thing I don't want to run into again, but it's bound to happen. You're gonna run into a resistance again. If we make it
Yeah.
playful, oh, hi, here you are again. That smelly thing I don't really like. But oh, hi, of course you're coming back. Of course you're visiting me again. And I think letting it be light, living your life, this is part of it. And then taking the ideas, implementing them, and then really embodying them. And I sometimes think that we don't know if we've completely embodied our ideas until we run into the resistance or the challenging circumstances or the, hey, did you really mean what you
100%.
said? Yes. So,
Because
and
you don't know how you would handle it. And it's
right.
who are you? That's where you're revealed in those moments. Who are you? How are you going to deal with this? Are you going to respond? Are you going to react? Are you going to hold it? And are you going to be able to forgive? Are you going to be able to see the areas that you want to have growth in? You have to see yourself. This is what determines if you are the one. Are
Yes.
you the one? Right?
And
Yeah, this is where it all comes together. So you have to live it. You got to go be it. You got to go experience it. And then tell us the story. Where the heck are you going to get wisdom from if you don't do that?
Mhm. We both know we are the one, as are you. And the fluidity of she can be anything and do or have that she wants. And it can look like this for one period of my life. And now it can look like this. I'm always the one. I have the opportunity to transition this however I want, to expand it however I want. And I think one of those resistances that we run into is when you are choosing to change or become another version of yourself that's a little bit more bold and a little bit more brave, there is the resistance of that's not who you are. That's not the woman I know. And then, really, that is how, like you just said, that is how you know you're the one. You're answering your intuition, you're expressing the true parts of yourself. And the more we get the courage to do that and act upon it, the more we understand even more of ourselves, more of our mission and our purpose and the way we can serve the
Yeah.
world. And then you, not even knowing you were going to create that, have an entire business based on that with a
Yeah.
year-long mentorship and private coaching and programs. And I mean, it's been so fun to watch that happen for you. And then knowing that all of us are capable of that. And I think that's what's so beautiful about your story is that wasn't your original intuition. Your idea was, okay, first I didn't know that wasn't going to be my idea. And then now what am I going to create from here? And then it's evolved and evolved. It's so helpful because you are the true leader of what you're helping your students do. You are aligned to
Yes.
lead, and then you're helping them into their alignment, and then they will lead their own vision, their own mission, their own purpose.
Their own freedom, whatever that means to them. I didn't realize that I'd always been bold, I'd always taken risk, but I never knew that would be a part of my brand identity. But it is, that's been my journey. And that's where you actually extract these things from. That's the true embodiment of a leader or anybody that is at a high level of marketing in their business. Is the premium marketers are the ones that have embodied the work, and that's where they're leading from. So I didn't have that as my idea of what I was doing. I
Yeah.
was just going down the path. Like I said, it was for me first. And then once I was going through it, I could have shared it along the way. I think that there was a period of where I wanted to share it, but I actually was just really wanting just to be in it. And it was really for me first. And then I realized, well, hang on, this is too good to keep. I want to share that. I want to pass that on. And that's just all through becoming the woman that is now
Mhm.
doing that, and through her creations that she's doing it. And then it's not even just creating in business. The business for me was the byproduct of who I became.
Yeah.
And the lessons that I personally had to learn was, how do I prioritize my life, my kids, my family, my relationship? How can I have patience in the love now that I have with a new partner? Because I'm the one who's very growth mentality. And he's not totally like me. He comes from a very logical mind. He's had success along the way, but I'm the one that's still growing with a very different mindset. So there's been clash along the way. Those are the things I've needed to learn. How do I be the woman inside the environment I've chosen now? It's not like, how do I cut everything from my life so that I can just have this perfect life? Because that's part of who you are, and that gets revealed to you through the life that you have and the people that are in it and the circumstances that come in, and that gets to be revealed. So those are things that you get to build as, what is your, what, how can you support people? Look at the life, or look at the path that we've all been down, right? And then you can decide, is that in alignment? Is there resonance in that story with what I'm living? And could I save myself some time and get some shortcuts by
Yes.
learning somebody else's wisdom rather than going through trial and error and going backwards and wasting time? I'm not into that. So I'd rather just learn from somebody else who's been through it. And
Oh, yeah.
that's how I've done it. That's how you've done it.
I was feeling as we were talking, there will be a listener or two out there that's like, I don't even know what I would want to create. What's important there is to recognize the beauty of the story as it is today. We don't have to
Mhm.
have all the answers. You don't have to have it all. You may be sitting in a lot of the questions. You may be sitting in a lot of the uncertainty, whether you feel like you've succeeded or not. It is that I don't know what's next, or I'm not certain how to find it. And yet, I love going back to you found beauty in each step of your path. Beauty without it being perfect, beauty navigating it, beauty in the relationship, beauty in being divorced, beauty in leaving one business and creating another one, not knowing that you were going to. If we can find the perfection in it not being perfect, find the joy and the gratitude of exactly where we're at, exactly what you just said, there is wisdom that comes from your experiences that will help someone else. And the only way for that person to know and to find you is for you to be willing to share where you're at every step along the way. There are people that need someone who doesn't have it all figured out because they're a couple steps behind you. And someone who has it all figured out feels too far away. And then there's
Yeah.
others who silently build quietly and they want to find someone who built silently, quietly. And then you may not even not want to have a business. You may just want to have a great relationship or be a better mom. And there's so many elements of your story that are all that as well, that you just took the time to actually want to grow, to find the sources that worked for you in order to grow. And then in your growth and development, you discovered even more of yourself and your desires. And then you stepped into that expansion. And that's my hope for anybody that listens is you're not coming past these stories for no reason. You're hitting this story at this time for you specifically because there's something in there for you specifically in her, whether it's one little nugget or this whole vision of she created that, maybe I could too. There's just no chance that it's not meant to help you to find your path. I love this. Okay, so how can people find you? Where are you all over the place? Tell them favorite places to find you.
Yeah, probably come to Instagram. I'm at Christie Sondergaard, just my name.
Mhm.
And or Facebook is another great place. And my websites and all my offers are there. I have a link tree that you
Perfect.
could go to. Yeah,
Perfect.
the link tree, it's under my name, Christie Sondergaard. And just make sure you get the spelling right.
Yes.
Christie, and then Sondergaard, Sondergaard. So you could be able to find me through those places. I'm sure that through this podcast,
Yep.
they'll be able to, the links will be there as well. Just click there, look for it,
Yeah.
and say hello. Business for me, especially online, I think sometimes it feels like you're a fish in a fishbowl, nobody, but I feel like I want to know people. That's relationships and that's business 101 for me. Is I care about that you met or that you listened to this podcast. It's our connection point. Tell me that if you come and share with me with where you're at. If you're looking for something specific and be self-led, ask those kinds of questions. I think sometimes we think I don't belong or I'm not really there or I might be different. We've all been down this path. I think that's part of it. I think as a human race, I think that's what we are meant to, that's why our soul is here on this journey is to experience what it's like to be human and to know that we're down this path of self-actualization, which is a deep connection to our own soul and our own inner knowing. And then from there, we get to, it's a choice. We get to share and we get to hold a vision, other people's vision, and we get to create and we get to produce, we get to do all those things. So we don't have to have any of that figured out. We just need to, if you're feeling a calling and a pull, that's what led me. It's always been down this intuition. I just didn't want to do it the same way because in the end, Like the one business I built it through a very masculine paradigm,
Mhm.
like wasn't there. And if you lost everything, if you were, if you did, not that we want to think like that, but if you were really rooted in who you are, you could do absolutely anything. And
Mhm.
I think that's the power that I want to leave people with is you can do anything at any point along your journey.
Yeah, I totally agree. Ending on that. That's so true. You can do anything. Okay, my
You
favorite.
can be anything.
Yes,
Yes.
do and be. In fact, be is even better. You can be.
Yes.
We can't all do everything. We physically cannot do it all, but we
No.
can be everything. So, my favorite thing to ask everyone at the end is considering where you're at now, how you feel, where your life is, and what you're considering for the future. How do you end the sentence? I am the one who.
I'm the one who supports and leads women to being free in every way that they want to be,
Mhm.
whatever that is, free, free in spirit, free in like location. If you want to be traveling the world and doing that, you get to do that. You get to be free in the way in your self-expression, in your movement, in anything that you want is possible. Free in time. Oh my God, to love what you really have and be able to create with that time that you have in a very passionate way. That's who I am.
That was a perfect answer. It has been such a pleasure having you on. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone, for
Lisa.
listening or watching. We will definitely see you again.